Elias had planned a quiet afternoon. He had dropped his son Noah at a friend's house and returned to the small art studio he kept in his living room. Light from the tall window spilled across his unfinished canvas, revealing the faint outline of a woman's face. He had started it months ago after a fleeting dream he could barely recall. Each time he tried to finish the eyes, his hand froze. He told himself it was an experiment in expression, but deep down he knew he was painting someone he felt but had never met. He was reaching for a new brush when a frantic knock broke the silence. The sound was sharp enough to make him jump. Another knock followed, quick and desperate. Elias stepped to the door and pulled it open. A young woman stood there in a wedding gown, her makeup streaked, her breath uneven. She clutched the skirt in both hands as if preparing to run again. For a moment neither spoke. Her eyes searched his face with a kind of wild hope. "Please," she whispered. "I need help. Just for a moment. Please." Elias hesitated, but something in her trembling voice pushed him aside. He let her in and shut the door. She leaned against the wall, trying to steady herself. "Are you running from someone?" he asked. "Not someone. Something," she said. It was clear she was choosing her words carefully. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I left my own wedding." Elias blinked at the sight of her dress. He had seen women in gowns, but never one escaping in one. He brought her a glass of water while she took in the room. Her gaze drifted toward the easel. When she stepped closer, her breath caught. "It is me," she murmured. "Or it looks like me." Elias felt heat rise to his face. "It is unfinished. I did not know who she was supposed to be." She stared at the portrait long enough that he wondered if she might start crying again. Instead she let out a soft, shaky laugh. "Maybe I was supposed to find you today," she said. He sat beside her and waited. She finally told him her name was Liana. Her wedding had been arranged by families who believed comfort mattered more than choice. She tried to accept it. She tried to convince herself that stability was the same as love. But standing at the altar she felt herself disappear. The person in the mirror wore a lovely gown, yet she did not feel present in it. "So I turned and walked out," she said. "I did not even think about where to go. I just kept running. When I saw your door I felt drawn. I cannot explain it." Elias listened with an ache he did not expect. He had not felt this pull toward anyone since Noah's mother had passed away. He had learned to accept solitude as a quiet companion. Yet sitting next to this stranger, he felt life stir again. "You can stay here for a little while," he offered. "When you are ready, I can drive you somewhere safe." Liana looked grateful, but she also looked tired. Elias set her up on the couch and offered her one of Noah's blankets. She fell asleep quickly, the kind of sleep that comes when a storm passes but the sky has not cleared yet. Elias returned to the easel. He studied the face he had painted, trying to understand why he had captured a stranger so precisely. The same curve of cheek. The same tilt of the head. The same quiet sadness buried in the eyes. As he stood there he felt an odd mix of fear and recognition. It was as if some part of him had known her long before this moment. Liana woke near sunset. The light turned her gown a soft copper. She apologized for the trouble and asked if he could drive her to the edge of town. She planned to stay with a distant aunt and figure out her next steps. During the drive she watched the passing fields with a pensive look. Elias wanted to ask why she matched the woman in his painting, but the question felt too heavy. Instead he asked if she regretted leaving. She shook her head. "I regret that I waited so long." When he dropped her off, she paused before stepping out. "Thank you, Elias. I do not know why you answered the door. But you saved me in a way no one else could have." She hesitated. "If you ever finish that painting, I would like to see it." Then she was gone, walking down a narrow path toward a small house. Elias watched until she disappeared from sight. He drove home with a hollow feeling he could not name. Days passed. He thought of her more than he wanted to admit. He kept returning to the painting, adding careful strokes to the eyes. Each time he painted, he felt as if Liana was standing beside him, steadying his hand. Noah noticed the change as well. The house felt lighter. His father smiled more. By the time 2 weeks had passed, the portrait was complete. The woman on the canvas no longer looked lost. She looked certain. She looked alive. Elias stepped back and felt something settle in him, as if he had finally allowed himself to breathe. That evening a knock sounded again. Softer this time. Familiar. When he opened the door, Liana stood there, dressed plainly, her eyes warm. "I came to see the painting," she said. "But also to see you." Elias let her in. She approached the canvas and touched her fingers lightly to the edge of the frame. "It is beautiful," she said. "But you know it is not just me. It is the person you imagined I could become. That is why I was drawn here. Somehow you painted the part of me I had forgotten." She turned toward him. "I want to start over. Not just from that wedding. From everything. I thought maybe we could begin as friends. And see where life wants to lead us." Elias felt something gentle rise in his chest. He nodded. "We can do that." Noah peeked from the hallway, curious. Liana smiled at him. The boy smiled back. For the first time in a long while, the house felt full. The painting on the easel stood quiet, no longer unfinished. And Elias understood that the moment he opened the door to a frightened bride, he had opened a new door inside himself as well.